2014 City Council meeting to order. First order of business is roll call and determination of quorum. Heidi.
Scott. Here. Drew. Here. Lewis. Here. Doyle. Here. Wright.
Here.
Estes.
Here.
Nordstrom. Here. Roberts. Weifenbach. Here. Laurenti.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And just so everyone knows, Alderman John Roberts contacted me late this afternoon and said he's not feeling well tonight and will not be in attendance. For our invocation tonight, we have something special. We have the Shrine of Democracy Chorus, representing many performing groups in the Rapid City area under the direction of Clayton Southwick. And if all the council members could go to the sides or down front during their performance. And you're welcome to participate, but not required.
Smiling faces everywhere on this happy day. Now it's just the perfect time to say, so we'll say, we want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Merry Christmas to you. May your every dream
It's back.
Here, that's, here, you can have yours.
Okay.
Pledge of Allegiance. We're now going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks again to the Shrine of Democracy Barbershop Chorus, and special thanks to Councilmember Darla Drew, whose idea it was to bring them in tonight. Thank you very much, Darla. We now have the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to tonight's agenda? If none, can we have a motion to approve? Motion by Doyle, second by Scott. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We now have our Veteran of the Month, and if Kevin Ott could join me down front along with Ward 3 Councilmembers Jerry Wright and Chad Lewis. In partnership with the Veterans Coordination Commission, we are pleased to present the December 2014 Veteran of the Month recognition to Kevin Ott. He was born and raised in LaPorte, Indiana, attended Vandercook College of Music prior to enlisting in the U.S. Air Force. In addition to maintaining and operating radars, radios, tactical command and control systems, he served in the fields of research and development, technical training, operational tests, and evaluation. His Air Force operational assignments included Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, Mississippi, and Colorado, along with joint service assignment with National Security Agency in Maryland. He served overseas in Guam, South Korea, and the Azores, and joint service deployments to Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan in support of Operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. He served as Chief Master Sergeant for the Squadron Superintendent of 28th Communications Squadron at Ellsworth Air Force Base from October 2010 to November 2012. His duties included advising and assisting the commander in managing a squadron of 154 military, civilian, and contractor personnel, sustaining mission-essential C4 equipment and systems in direct support of expeditionary and home station operations. He also advocated on issues and concerns affecting readiness, technical and professional development, utilization, welfare, and morale of personnel assigned to the squadron. Following his vision and guidance, the 28CS was awarded the Major General Stoney Trophy in recognition as the best of 16 communications squadrons in Air Combat Command for 2011.
Kevin serves as the Veteran of Foreign Wars VFW Post 1273 liaison to Ellsworth Air Force Base, where he coordinates recruiting volunteer service opportunities, organized the post's inaugural Ellsworth Leadership Social, and the first ever breakfast burrito sale for Dakota Thunder. As a legislative trustee for the Air Force Sergeants Association, he meets with staffers from the U.S. Senator Thune, Senator Johnson, and Congressman Noem's office, relaying concerns and issues impacting the enlisted force at Ellsworth, the Air Guard, along with family members, veterans, and retirees. In return, he briefs the Air Force Sergeant Association Chapter Membership Monthly on the latest legislative updates and issues being addressed by AFSA on Capitol Hill. He has also provided legislative updates at various private organization meetings and is invited to speak at all 3 unit commanders' calls. Kelvin also volunteers to teach the enlisted history and heritage blocks at the Ellsworth NCO Club for professional development courses and the senior NCO for professional development courses. He is also selected to be a guest speaker at Ellsworth's 2014 Senior NCO Induction Ceremony and Banquet. Finally, Kevin spearheaded the Air Force Sergeant Association's involvement in downtown Rapid City's Autumn Nights Honoring Our Patriots concert held this September. He organized the Black Hills Honor Guard consisting of the junior ROTC cadets from Central and Douglas High School, ROTC cadets from South Dakota Tech, soldiers from the South Dakota Guard, airmen from Ellsworth, and veterans from the VFW Post 1273, along with the Honor Guard from Rapid City Fire Department. Kevin authored the script for a military retreat ceremony and ceremony of flag folding, honoring the victims and the first responders of the terrorist attacks on 9/11, along with honoring the prisoners of war missing in action and all those who have served or are serving today. Lastly, he coordinated fundraising efforts during the concert that culminated in raising $1,000 for the Wounded Warrior Project. He has already started planning next year's event. Kevin is married to the former Makneum of Mason, South Korea, and they are the proud parents of one son, Michael, who is currently a junior at Rapid City Stevens High School. In getting back to his musical roots, Kevin is an instrumentalist with the praise team at Rapid City First United Methodist Church. Kevin has served with our country, our city, and continues to serve our veterans. His example of service and sacrifice makes him deserving of this honor. We'd like to extend our gratitude to you, and thank you, Kevin.
I just want to thank Mayor Quaker, City Council, all the people of Rapid City and the Black Hills. 30 years in the Air Force. I've lived in about 14 different places, in about 6 overseas countries. By far and away, Rapid City, the Black Hills is the best towards the veterans and towards the active duty military. The outreach that you get from the minute you're here is just tremendous. We're looking forward to a very busy 2015 in the associations that I work with. We have our division convention coming to Deadwood in April for the Air Force Sergeants Association. Of course, the air show at Ellsworth in August, and we're already working again for Autumn Nights in September. And again, the Rapid City and the Black Hills, just a great place to live. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jerry.
Todd? We're very excited tonight to present a certificate of 25 years of service to Todd Duda with the fire department. And this is not a retirement announcement, correct?
Oh, not yet.
Another 25 years?
No.
No? All right. Well, to talk to us about the last 25 years, Assistant Chief Rod Seals.
Todd is amazing what he's done for our department. He's an outstanding example
of the 145 men and women that proudly serve the Rapid City Fire Department. A little bit about Todd and his career. He began his career December 4th, 1989, and he was promoted to lieutenant in June 1st of 2001. Todd has served many stations throughout the city: Station 5 on Park Drive, Station 3 on West Chicago, Station 1 downtown, 5 years at Station 7 on the in North Rapid. And since 2012 to current, he serves out at Rapid City Fire Station 8 at the airport. One interesting thing to note about Todd is he is a second-generation firefighter for the Rapid City Fire Department, and his father, Andy, also proudly served at Rapid City Regional Airport, Fire Station 8. I'd like everybody to welcome Todd for the last 25 years, and we look forward to the next 25 years of service from him. He's a man of few words.
I would just like to say a few words about the relationship that the airport and the fire department have. We're very excited to have a city fire station out at the airport. And some of you in this room might remember the Spirit of Six, the crash in the 60s that claimed the lives of six people in Rapid City. And ever since then, it was realized that we needed to have a presence of the Rapid City Fire Department out at the airport, and that's something that will continue for many years in the future. And we're very pleased with the relationship that these two important city departments have. Thank you again for your service. Michael Howard. Where do I begin? I should have written down my remarks, but I didn't. There's so much I can say about this gentleman here and all that he's done for our city. In the fall of 2011, when Michael applied for the open position of executive assistant in the mayor's office, there were more than 100 people that applied. One of the reasons that Michael stood out in my mind is when he was working for SCI San Mina a number of years ago, when he was laid off from that position. Instead of drawing unemployment, he chose to go work at the Olive Garden for about a year making salads. And that so impressed me about his work ethic and his character. And it impressed me, also spoke to me because the position in the mayor's office, the position that he's held for the last 3 years with honor, is a position that involves a lot of salad making. It also involves a fair amount of excitement, but there's a lot of mundane, routine tasks that he takes care of. Mike has a unique ability to disarm people and address their concerns. People can call up and they can be extremely angry when they call the mayor's office, and he knows where they lived in 1968, and he knows their parents and their grandparents and their great-grandchildren, and he has a connection to everybody in Rapid City. It's just, this guy's amazing. And I'm sad that he's retiring, but he's not going quietly into the night. He's going to be coming back and helping various departments out on a part-time basis, but he has chosen to give up full-time employment. But we want to just thank him for his tremendous service to our community. Michael was instrumental on, on helping put together the 2012 flood commemoration, the commemoration of the 1972 flood, the 40th anniversary. He lived through the flood. He knew a lot of people that perished in the flood and a lot of people that survived it. And he had a unique skill set to help put that extraordinary commemoration together. He worked with Chuck Childs, who I believe just turned 94, and he's good friends with Chuck Childs. And these two guys sent out more than 600 invitations all across the country to survivors of flood victims. There were some people that came back to our community in 2012 who left after the 1972 flood and didn't look back. It was incredible what this guy did. And very thankful for his service to our community. And I want to present this on behalf of a grateful community, on behalf of the entire city council. It looks like an Emmy Award, but we ask that you not sing. But thank you very much for your service to our community.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say that before I came to the city, I knew a lot of people in town. And after working for the city for 3 years, I know a lot more. And I want to say that I have become friends with all the council people and all the council people who have come and gone. And I've become friends with the directors and their subordinates, and I really appreciate all the time that I've been able to spend with them and the knowledge that I have gained because of those friendships. It has truly been an enriching experience. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Rapid City.
I would like the city council members to come up and join Michael and I for a picture. It's important to know while they're all coming up, the position that Michael held for several years is now being held by Dave Nisi. Dave, are you here? Okay, Dave's in the back. And this is a position appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council, and it became a confirmed position starting in 2011, so we wanted to have the council up here for this. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Do you have sustainability? I'll come back down. Do you have the award? Okay. Well, we're very pleased to present the West Hills Village Going Green Committee the Sustainability Award, and to present the award is Jay Pond from the Sustainability Committee. Jay.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure to introduce some staff and residents of West Hills. On my very right is Daryl Renicky. He is the CEO of West Hills Communities. Then we have Earl Stuckey. Sorry. This is my dad, Bud Pond, Robert Bush, Timer, Allison, and Janet Rathbun. These residents and the staff are part of 12 to 15 people at West Hills who are part of the Growing Green Committee. And that committee oversees issues that promote sustainability within their own community. And so as part of the Sustainability Committee for the City of Rapid City, it's our task to identify businesses and organizations that really do promote either socially, economically, or environmentally practices that are sustainable. And their Growing Green Committee has been very successful. This last year, and this I found out from my dad, was we were going to drive to Denver, and he said, I have to find somebody to do my recycling, and I didn't know what that was about. But that's how I found out about the committee is 10 to 12 people throughout the residents collect recycling, and they fill about a container every 10 days. Also, as recommended by the committee, over the last year, 580 windows and sliding doors have been replaced in the facility with higher energy efficient windows and doors. They have a gardening program on each end of their garage facilities. They dedicate space so that the residents can garden. And also, the purpose of their committee is just to have an ongoing dialogue between residents and the staff at West Hills to promote issues of sustainability. We usually try to identify one of the areas, either economic, social, or environmental, but West Hills has excelled at all three of those areas, and so it's an honor and a pleasure to get to provide them this award from the Sustainability Committee. Thank you, Daryl.
On behalf of West Hills, we'd like to thank the City of Rapid City for the recognition. A special thanks to Mayor Quaker and Jerry Wright. They've both come up in the past, in the years past, giving us very good programs on what's going on in the landfill. We've had numerous trips out to the landfill with a lot of our residents and staff to see what's going on out there. And that really is what got us started. And so we continue this. It's a great effort between our facility, our employees, and our residents, but I would tell you the day-to-day work done is by our residents. So we appreciate all the efforts that go on. So thank you very much.
I'll come back.
Now we have an executive session for potential direction on Kelly versus City of Rapid City Board of Adjustment. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Motion by Scott, second by Doyle. All in favor say aye. We are now in executive session. None? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're now into general public comment, and we have two general public comment speaker request forms, one from Dan Michael. Things have changed a little bit, Dan, so it's over to the side now. Over to my right. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Dan Michael, and things have changed around here quite a bit in a couple years. I come before the council this evening because I sent an email on the 1st of December after reading an article on the Civic Center in which I used the word visionary and common sense in a statement, and it struck a chord in a council member, and I'm assuming that it probably struck a chord in other council members. And I come before you tonight to apologize if you took offense to my wording in my email. I would hope that everyone on this council and the mayor are visionary. And when it comes to spending millions of dollars, I would hope that there is common sense and accountability that goes along with it. Since I sent the email, I got a couple other emails because there was a response on the design build of the Civic Center. And this is an example of how things happen within a community. The CMAR is coming into town from out of state, and the word on the street, it gets spread around that it's a design build project, and the general contractor is going to bring in all these outside forces and build the Civic Center. Since I now have an understanding that it is not a design build, because I talked to Donovan Broberg on Friday for about 20 minutes, I've come to understand how this is going to be built. It made me feel a whole lot better. And then when I see out on the placard out here, I see millions and millions of dollars, and you divide that into little pieces. You have your mechanical, you have your electrical, you have your temperature control, you have your concrete, you have your finish work. You spread that out. This is the word that the council needs to get out there to this community, because it means millions of dollars being spent possibly right here in Rapid City. And especially with the way Donovan explained it to me, that there's going to be public bid openings. And the CMAR is going to be the one that is going to be running the project, and the city, I assume the city, is going to be approving these little parts and pieces. I meant no disrespect in my email to anyone on the council. No disrespect. I admire you. I've run for public office. I know what it's like to have vision. I had a few visions, and a couple of them come to fruition. I didn't even have to get elected. But I thank you for your service and your accountability as well. Good evening.
Well, Thank you very much, Dan. And we'll now go to our next speaker request form under general public comment, Patty Martinson. Good evening, Patty.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Patty Martinson. I am a board member of the Black Hills Center for Equality, and I want to make the council aware that the Black Hills Center for Equality, in partnership with other groups in South Dakota, is hosting an Equality Summit next month on January 16th through 17th at the Rushmore Plaza Holiday Inn. The objective of the summit is to create an opportunity for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender individuals, their friends, and their allies to come together in learning and in fellowship. We invite the council to join us in this fellowship during our reception Friday night, or in listening to our keynote speaker, Judy Shepard, the president of the Matthew Shepard Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patty. We do not have any more general public comment items. Have I missed anyone? Okay. Seeing none, we will now move to public comment for items 4 through 43. We do not have any speaker request forms for items 4 through 43. Have I missed anyone? Seeing none. Any council members like to pull items for separate consideration or make a motion? We'll go to Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to pull item number 15 and item number 35, please.
15 and 35. Anybody else? Richie Nordstrom. Cancel. Cancel? Okay. We have a motion to approve. Okay, we have a motion by Lewis and a second by Doyle to approve items 4 through 43 with the exceptions of 15 and 35. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, and we'll go to Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 15, to approve the change order number 3 to Skull Construction Service Incorporated for Canyon Lake Dam Reconstruction Project for an increase of $144,353.98. I make a motion to approve, and I'd like to retain the floor.
And we have a second by Nordstrom, and Amanda, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Our Public Works Director is not here. I'm hoping his sit-in, Carl, can answer our question. If not, I did visit with Terry, and I'll clarify it. But basically, Carl, when I visited with Terry on this increase, is this amount incorporated into the full Canyon Lake project amount? Are you aware of?
And we'll go to Carl Murbach, who's the manager of the city landfill.
Thank you. I am not aware of the specifics. I know what this is for. This is for the 48-inch bypass line that is being installed. But beyond that, I was not aware of any of the other details relating to that.
Well, thank you, Carl, because that's where I was leading into, is that originally I know the money was set aside when I talked to Terry Wolsterstorff to have additional pumping in order to get the level of Canyon Lake down before the reconstruction could commence. And this was actually, I feel, a much better, well-thought-out plan. Would you mind explaining what, I mean, you already alluded to it, but would you mind going into greater detail as far as what was actually implemented?
And again, I apologize. This is, again, not my area. But again, it was for the additional 48-inch bypass line that is going to allow construction to proceed as scheduled. Beyond a lot of those details, again, my apologies, I do not know much more than that.
All right, thank you, Carl. Just for clarification, then, when I was visiting with Terry Wolsterstorff, they originally were going to take on, if everybody remembers, this went out for bid twice. And the second time, the city took on the responsibility of doing a lot of the mitigation of any excess water in Canyon Lake so that we could get the bid back down into closer to the engineer's estimate. And so originally there was going to be extra funds allocated to this project in order to pump the water out if there was excess moisture collecting into the dam. Instead of using it to go towards pumping equipment on a temporary basis, this pipe, 48 inches, did you say, was actually installed as a bypass, and it's actually permanent. So it actually, in my opinion, gives a better workability to control the levels of Canyon Lake going forward. It gives us a bypass. So I want to applaud the Public Works Director. Carl, you are here tonight. You get to take all the accolades for a great design. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Amanda. Any further discussion? Everyone understands the motion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're now on item number 35, and we'll go to Chad Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 35 is approved the resolution dissolving the TID number 44. I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Lewis, second by Scott, and we'll go to Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. And I know we have a sit-in for Pauline Sumption tonight as well, so may I ask Tracy some questions, please?
You may.
Thank you. Concerning this, this is, the attachment says that with the dissolution or dissolving this TID, that there would be $1.225 million above the mill levy that would be going back to the taxing authorities. However, when I placed a question with Patsy Horton, and I'm hoping you were updated on this, there is an overriding tax incremental district. Could you give us some explanation as far as, does it incorporate all of the property that was in this tax incremental district as well?
Okay, I'm aware that they overlap, and I obviously was whispering with Brett here if he had some more information than I do. I do not know the percentage or the overlapping area amount.
Okay.
Sorry, it might not be.
Thank you. Then if I could, Mayor, may I bother Mr. Brett Limbaugh? Thank you, Brett. So when I was visiting with Patsy, I'd had a conversation with her. There is an overlapping additional tax increment district. And so she wasn't sure the full geography of it, but she did say it was going to take in the majority of it, so that majority of the taxes of roughly this $1,200,000 is going to be now attributed to that new taxing district. But she needed to do some research and look up to see what the actual outstanding certified amount for the new TID. Do you have any updates on that information?
You know, she didn't provide me with any updates, but they are overlapping districts. And so it's not essentially a new district, but it's they oftentimes will create these overlapping districts. So instead of those dollars going directly back to the taxpayers at this point, it'll go into resolving the outstanding debt of the overlying district to the extent that the geographies are coterminous. And I don't believe that they are exactly coterminous in this case.
Okay. So is it possible to just contact Patsy then and see if we can get some other information linked as far as, because I know the media was interested in some of this information as far as this releasing of these tax dollars to go back to the taxing entities. But with that overlapping tax district, the question then in everybody's mind, or at least in my mind, and from the people I've been talking to, would be how much longer this $225 million is going to be tied up in another district. And in order to answer that question, we need to know what the outstanding payment is for the outstanding TID that still takes over this parcel of land. So
That's correct, and we'd be more than happy to provide you with that answer. I just don't have it in front of me tonight, and unfortunately our web service is down, so I can't pull up any information for you.
all right. So if the media is interested in that, we should be able to get the information from the planning department as far as what actually is going to be used with that $1.225 million and how long roughly it will be tied up in order to get whatever is involved in those infrastructure items in that next tax increment district. I yield the floor. Thank you, Mayor.
Richie Nordstrom. Richie?
Thank you, Mayor. And just to follow up on what Amanda's suggesting here is that, and I know enough to be dangerous on this one here, is that a lot of these taxes that are being collected off of this district will be shifted over to the, not the new, but the overlapping districts. So a lot of the money that you're talking about, Amanda, it will be used in that other TID area. And I'm glad you brought up that $1.2 million that will be used to help pay down that TID in a little more expedited manner. But I just wanted to point out that this is a good learning tool that can be used for other TIFs that are going to be used in the future. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things in here. This particular project includes capital costs associated with the construction of Mall Drive sanitary sewer extension and drainage improvements, which the taxpayers don't really have to pick up. That's the part of the developer that's going to be engaging in that fee on that. So they take all the risk, and the city has very little risk in that, next to nothing, in fact. The estimated value of the property to begin with was just a little over $3.8 million, and now the assessed value is going to be increased to about $85 million. And the tax assessment office has to take another look at it, but that's the estimated value that's on the property at the current time, and then that will be confirmed or modified by the county assessments office. And then one other thing that I just want to note is that the costs picked up by the developer on the cost of the Mall Drive extension will be a little over $1 million. The drainage improvements about $500,000. The sanitary sewer extension will be $420,000, and the oversize will be approximately $158,000. And then there's some water improvements in it as well. And that's all borne as a risk to the developers, and again, very little to the taxpayers. And there's some other information contained within this report that the staff put together, and how it's going to impact the different taxing entities. However, with this overlapping, stay tuned. We'll be able to give some very good positive numbers on that taxing entity, the money that will be coming into the taxing entities. Thank you, Mayor. I'll yield the floor.
Thank you, Alderman Nordstrom. Any further discussion on this item, item 35? Everyone understands the motion. Motion is to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Public comment is now open on items 44 through 60. Is there anyone that would like to speak on these items? I do not have any speaker request forms. Last call. Public comment is now closed. We will go to item number 44, and we'll recognize Chad Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 44 is second reading of ordinance 6003, an ordinance to adopt 2012 International Mechanical Code by amending Chapter 15.26 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. And move approval.
Motion by Lewis and a second by Laurenti. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 45.
Item number 45 is second reading of ordinance 6004, an ordinance to adopt the 2012 International Fuel Gas Code by amending Chapter 15.22 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I move approval.
Motion by Lewis, second by Drew. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries enthusiastically. Item 46.
Item number 46 is the first reading of ordinance 6024, supplemental appropriation number 4 for 2014. I move approval.
Motion by Lewis, second by Nordstrom. We'll go to Amanda Scott. Amanda?
Of course. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mayor, on this one, I know that you, since you retained office or came into office, one of your goals was to reduce the number of supplemental appropriations, because I understand back when you were a city council member, they used to have a lot more, according to you. A lot more is the way it's been phrased. However, my concern is when the public views these, since we've cut down the number of these supplemental appropriations, here it is the 15th of December, and we're having a fourth supplemental appropriation, and this one totals $60 million to be added to the 2014 budget. I'm just trying to understand, is that really the way we should be going, or should we be breaking these up and going to having more supplemental appropriations and taking them throughout the year so that it doesn't become one great big bang at the end of the year?
Well, I'll see if our assistant finance officer can help us with this, Tracy, but my understanding, what Pauline has mentioned, is that her preference is to break this up and to not have this much on this appropriation, although the goal is still to limit to 4 or 5 supplementals versus the 7 to 8 or so that we've had in the past. Tracy, would you like to take a crack at this one?
Sure. Yes, the final supplement is rather large, and we do have opportunity to break it out further throughout the year. We would certainly like to do that. There will be some at the final supplement of the year that we cannot do earlier, so it could end up being still large. So, but we would be in favor of having more if we could.
All right.
Tracy, since you brought that up, looking at this, and since you're saying some of these could have been brought up earlier in the year, it does seem quite large when we're talking that the mayor proposed the 2014 budget, well over a year ago, and the city council passed it, and it was roughly a $150 million budget. And when you technically add on this $60 million at the end of December 2014 to the budget, we're now looking at over a $210 million budget for 2014. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So the actual budget for 2014 is over $200 million.
That is correct.
And 35 million of this supplemental appropriation is just the CIP and the Vision Fund, which is sales tax related?
Yes.
And that's above and beyond what was actually budgeted for 2014?
Right, those are for programmed projects that need to have the budget authority available.
So when you say budgeted projects, does that mean that they were slated or identified in the past with a certain dollar amount, like in 2012, 2013, and that they just haven't come to fruition due to time constraints or
that could be part of
other
yes.
requirements?
Yes.
And then there was $9 million in the enterprise fund, and then the actual general fund was roughly about $2 million being added to this supplemental appropriation.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. This is the type that in the reporting, it'd be nice if we could actually see what the mayor proposes, what the city council approves, and then what the actual budget, because in all fairness, by the time the audit comes around for the 2014 budget, which won't be until next year, this actual, which we're looking at $210 million now, may actually back off to about $150 million, but it just means that other $60 million is going to be carried over to 2015. Is that a potential?
Yes, that's a potential. I would probably say it wouldn't be the full amount of that. There are some adjustments in there that we are required to do to make sure that there's the budget authority there.
All right. So as of today, December 15th, we're looking at a $210 million budget for 2014.
Correct.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Alderman Jerry Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope that's clear to the council. This is really I used to call them encumbrance, and Pauline corrected me. Encumbrance is only things that were contracted or actually spent into, but it's continuation or carryover, correct, for the most part. What I want to express is concern about the amount of money that we're carrying forward on streets and drainage, and it's about $16 million, which is an exceedance, I think, of our annual expenditure budgeted. I think we need to work as a council and with the mayor of how we can expedite the expenditure of this money, not because we want to get rid of it, but because it has such pressing needs in our infrastructure out there. If there's some things that we can do to get this money out into contractual form where we can get work done versus having it sitting in the bank, I'd like to see that done. Thank you.
Charity Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to just run some things, make sure I have my thinking straight with Tracy, if I may. Okay, and my understanding, Tracy, is that we have to account for these pass-throughs, obviously, because we're going to be spending the funds in later years, but we also have to account for the debt service on our tax increment districts, which is really a pass-through, but it does show up in this. It is going to make it look like a $210 million budget, when in fact a lot of this is we're just the conduit that money is being passed through, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so as much as we're saying, now we have a budget for 2015 that potentially looks like $210 million, we could actually backtrack some of these funds that have been carried over and look at past budgets and say that they're really detracted or deducted by that much, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so just so that people aren't, freaking out over this, I mean, there's reasons, and I know there's state laws and there's things that make it so that we have to, it's not really an accurate picture of what's going on, but I do think it does bring some sunlight to it, and it does show that even when we do these and we enter into these agreements, that we are still responsible for them, and it does overinflate things, I think. But just to make sure I was thinking about that correctly. Thank you.
Quick question for Carl Murdoch. Carl, I don't know if you're prepared to discuss this tonight, but Terry and I had spoke this afternoon after Alderman Wright had raised his excellent question regarding the carryover of CIP. And are you able to answer some of that tonight on why there's the carryover?
As far as that, the carryover, we, as an enterprise fund, we do have that money sitting in our reserve funds. When we had budgeted that money, we had anticipated maybe being a little bit farther along on certain projects, one of those being the potential expansion of the Johnson property. We are still in the permitting phase of that now. But again, when we look at our reserve funds, that money is still there. Why it was not, we did budget a lot in the capital this year. We also completed three major projects this year too. The final completion of the Citizen Campus, the final completion of the South 16 expansion, and the completion of the landfill gas project. We've half completed our cell 13-14 cap on that project. Again, we had anticipated some larger projects there, but we did expend a lot of money out of the capital budget for this year. One of the things we also did in 2014 that was a little different than what we had before is we created a separate fund for capital expenditures only. Beyond our regular collection, MRF and landfill accounts, we created a separate landfill account, 7104, that we're trying to do a little better job of keeping those major capital projects separate. So I'm not sure if that explains everything there, but again, we had, I think, budgeted nearly $5 million, if I remember correctly. We did not spend all of that amount, but did spend a significant amount here in the last 2 years.
Thank you, Carl. We'll go to Alderman Jerry Wright.
I discussed this issue with Terry late last week, and I know there's other factors we should mention. For instance, in the construction of streets and utilities in particular, there have been some delays from DOT due to funding and pricing. There's also been some delays in getting design work done because of right-of-way acquisition and getting the design done. There's concerns about pricing and also the concern about availability of contractors to do the work. Those aren't the only reasons, but they are factors in what's happening. So I do think we as a council and as a city need to talk about it, see if there's things we can do to get our repairs done in a more timely manner. And I don't know if we can. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Richie Nordstrom. Richie.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just try to keep this question brief, and I just need a yes or no answer. But I was just looking at the water and wastewater line items within this supplemental budget. Are we treating those very similar to what you expressed, Carl, Mr. Murbach, with the water and wastewater as what you were describing with the landfill operations? Just a yes or no.
I guess I'm not fully understanding the question.
Richie, okay. If I can paraphrase.
I'll get together with Terry on this to
Very
clarify
good.
it. Yeah, I apologize, Carl. I didn't mean to pick on you or anything like that. Sorry.
Alderman Brad Estes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, listening to Alderman Wright, and concern I have is when we've got some of our projects that have been delayed because we're piggybacked with the state, and watching what's happening to the state's bid history, what costs are doing. It looks like we got a lot of money, but the money that we've got that we're carrying forward that's piggybacked with state projects is probably going to have, we're going to probably have the same surprise on our end as they have, is that we're probably going to be budgeted short. And that's a concern I have with this delay and the piggybacking of projects that we have with other agencies, because they're running into funding issues, and which takes us along for the ride. So anyway, I think more will be revealed, but I think the people out there that think that this carryover, a lot of people probably think we're just rolling in a lot of money and delaying, and quite the opposite we could be impacted by quite the opposite. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to Alderman Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My questions are for Carl. And I think Was your conversation in reference to the landfill mainly versus the whole Public
Yes.
Works Department?
Mine was mainly just towards the landfill, yes.
So the landfill is a fee for service, correct?
Yes, it is. We are an enterprise fund for that.
People pay the fees, they expect a certain level of service that they're gonna get, and you're saying that right now you have a reserve?
We do maintain a reserve because our projects, when they do come up, such as the last landfill expansion or the last cell, was $2.5 million just to put our next cell to put garbage in. The landfill gas expansion, these are all mandated EPA requirements that we have to have. We don't want to go out and borrow that money, but again, we are right now on a pretty stable plane here, maintaining our reserve funds. Our last increase in the solid waste division was 2011.
And what are your reserve funds?
We have 2 reserve funds. We have a separate reserve fund for our collections division, and that is funding that is set aside. So in about 3 years, when we purchase new collection trucks, there's about a 7-year life on those. We don't have to dip into other funds. We will be able to looking to pay cash for those versus lending on those. The other reserve fund is on the landfill and material recovery facility for that, and that is for our ongoing expansion projects at the landfill, maintaining compliance there. Our third reserve fund is our perpetual care fund, which is mandated by the state that we have that perpetual care fund. When we shut down business, we still have expenses that we have to move forward, and this is a mandated expenditure that is setting at about $2.7 million.
And that's the third one, Carl. How much are the first two? Are they also healthy?
They are, I think we're about $3 million on the collection fund and about $6.2 million on the MRF and landfill fund.
So those are pretty healthy funds then?
They are very healthy.
Very healthy.
Again, but please look that we had close to $15 million in those funds just 2 years ago.
I appreciate, Carl, the fiscal responsibility you guys have taken on there, and I understand that. And I just want to make sure that people understand that in our community, people are paying a fee for service. So, and that's how you generate your fees, is the fee for service. They expect a certain level of service for what they pay, and if they want more service, they pay more money, or if they want less service, they pay less money, or whatever the case is. And that, to quote your words, your reserve funds are very healthy, and I appreciate that, and I applaud you guys for that. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this motion, first reading, item number 46? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item number 47, Chad.
Item number 47 is first reading of ordinance 6025, an ordinance repealing chapter 1.08 of the Rapid City Municipal Code relating to wards and precincts and adopting a newly revised chapter 1.08 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. I move approval.
Second.
Motion by Lewis, second by Drew. Any discussion? Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. In looking at this attachment and visiting with Pauline about this, this was being brought forward so that the newly annexed areas could have a voting precinct set up in Ward 3 so that they can participate in the votes, and specifically, normally this wouldn't be of paramount because we would be looking at a June vote. However, there's a potential of the Civic Center vote coming up. And so with this directly related to that vote, Mayor, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind giving us an update and the public an update on where we are on the petitions for gathering the signatures.
A little bit off topic, but if the council will allow it, sure, I will do so.
Sure.
I heard a no. Or is that a yo? Right. I believe there's been approximately 1,500 signatures gathered as of last Thursday, and the petition drive is going well. There's a number of people circulating petitions, including Alderman Wright and myself. And yes, second reading of this would be in effect, so that Countryside, not Countryside South, but Countryside, the approximately 238 actually it's 238 properties. All the residents there would be able to vote in the special election, assuming there is one.
And thank you, Mayor. And so it sounds like, and that's, I really hadn't heard a number yet, and I'm sure everybody out in the public is interested in knowing how the petition gathering of signatures is going. Do you know on the mechanism of that, how many of the signatures have been qualified against the current voter registration?
No.
Okay. Thank you. And then also, Mayor, I just wanted to let you know that the reason I gave you this opportunity is I know you said that you're going to champion this, and then you're also going to champion and work with the Chamber of Commerce to make sure that the public is well informed. You know, we had Mr. Michaels come in tonight and state that he was just recently gained some more information. He feels a lot more comfortable, and so thank you for championing this project and educating the public. And, you know, when it comes up for second reading, I'll probably ask you for an update then, too.
On that note, people can go to gotmine.com, GOTMINE.com, which is the Civic Center's website. All the information, all the studies, everything is out there that people can take a look at that and weigh all the information and facts available, and they're certainly welcome to contact any of us or myself if there's additional questions. Thank you. Any further discussion? Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess since we've taken some leniency here, I want to make sure the public understands the mayor, I'm not going to speak for him, but this council and the mayor are not here telling you that this thing's going to go to a vote. The council voted on it. There is petitions out there that are being signed for a referendum. Do not have a sense of false hope or whatever your case may be that if those signatures are not collected, this does not go to a vote. This Civic Center is being built. I want to make sure they understand that. I mean, I think that some people out there are getting some sense of false belief that the council is directing some sort of vote here through initiated measure or referendum. That's not the case. So I don't think that it's the mayor's responsibility to update us on any referendum that's taking place. I know he has championed some of the signatures, but I don't think he's required to. And I think that as a council, it's been voted on. And if the people want to refer it, they got to get out there and get the signatures. And there's a group of people that are trying to get that done. But if it doesn't happen, it's not going to come back to us and say. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that that's not our position from here. So thank you.
Alderwoman Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Alderman Weifenbach. That is a good clarifying point, because by no means was I recommending that this was going to public vote. That was the reason I asked the mayor about the qualifying the signatures, because I'd hate to see a misstep by the public if they do want to see this go to a public vote, as far as the City Council's decision to finance the Blue Concept with the Vision Fund money being referred for a public vote, because if the signatures are turned in and they're not qualified, that will be a misstep too, and it could very easily just be wiped right off the center if they're not pre-qualified, so that the initiative that's being made out in the public, they need to make sure that they are registered voters. So thank you, Alderman Weifenbach, for bringing that up. It's not a done deal.
I want to make sure I have the numbers correct. Daryl, do you remember what was it 1,500 by last Thursday? Was that Don Frankenfeld's press release? Was that the number in the press release? Do you remember?
He said 1,000.
1,000. 1,000 as of last Thursday. And the petitions would be due by 5 p.m. on January 2. So just clarification is the petition organizer, Don Frankenfeld, who's also a Civic Center board member, as of last Thursday, they have collected approximately 1,000 signatures, and they have until 5 p.m. on January 2 to collect the 2,035 required to have it go to a public vote. Okay. Anything else? Alderman Brad Estes.
Just call the question.
Question's been called. Are there any objections to calling the question? Don't see any objections. We'll proceed to a vote on first reading of Ordinance 6025. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 48. We'll go to Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 48 is a request by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers Incorporated for a preliminary subdivision plan for the proposed Lot 1R of Block 4 of the Rushmore Business Park, property generally described as being located at 450 Concourse Drive. I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Motion by Scott, second by Weifenbach. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 49. Amanda?
A request by William Anderson for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed Track 2 of the KWA subdivision, property generally being described as located at 22965 Radar Hill Road. I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Motion by Scott, second by Estes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 50, Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 50 is approve returning the Fairmount recycling site for South Rapid City, and this is brought up by Alderman Weifenbach, and I'll yield the floor.
Floor has been yielded. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion if you.
Floor has been yielded. We'll go to Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to extend this to the first meeting in March, and then I'd like to hold the floor.
Second.
To continue.
To continue,
Okay.
thank you.
We have a motion to continue to the first Public Works meeting in March. Would you like it to stop off at Public Works before it comes back?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, the first Public Works meeting in March.
And I appreciate that, and
And is there a second? Okay, and you still have the floor, sir.
thank you. And I appreciate my colleagues allowing this. I didn't get the chance to make it to the Public Works meeting the other day. And I haven't had a chance to do all my due diligence and homework. I have been doing some homework. I've been spending some time at the landfill. I had a few questions answered for me tonight earlier that I asked about, in what kind of condition we are for the pay for service that we're in. And so to be quite fair, I just kind of want to accommodate some of Carl's first thought processes when this first came up about looking at the service that's over there. So I'm going to spend some more time, hopefully get together with him, and hopefully get back in the neighborhoods and find out what the neighborhood is there. I get calls at least once a week in reference to this, or stopped in reference to it, about the people in the community over there that don't have the means to get to the landfill. So I'll continue this. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion to continue? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are now on alcohol beverage license applications 51 through 58. Would anybody like to pull any of these for separate consideration? If not, can we have a motion for all of them?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Estes, second by Doyle to approve items 51 through 58. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 59, we have Nick Johnson here from Performing Arts, who has just a brief presentation for us. And if you could welcome aboard, sir, and introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and the Council, for letting me speak to you. I'm Nick Johnson. I'm the Executive Director of the Performing Arts Center of Rapid City. I'm here just to give you a little update on what's going on down there at the other end of the street, and have a little brief video to entertain you a bit as well. In your packets, I've included some simple statistics of attendance over the past 3 years, and also I just included the events that were happening here between November 30th and December 31st. I thought it was significant that we had so much activity at the center, probably our busiest month since its inception. It shows a really nice showcase of all the different kinds of performing arts we're seeing, from benefits with Habitat for Humanity to Rapid City Children's Chorus, also a lot of middle schools that use the facility. That it was Dakota Middle School was their traditional venue, and I'm glad they're continuing that tradition and bringing their kids over here for performances. We have some elementary schools as well. I think the statistics show that the first year since its inception in fall of 2012, when there was just the small theater we called the Studio Theater, it grew quite a bit in the second year. Last year, 13-14, was our first complete year of operations. I think we're smoothing out operational finances, kind of getting a year under our belt, and we're really expecting to see about 20,000 people come through the doors this next year, and I seriously hope that that could double in the next few years. Just from past experience, a venue like this, I think we could be quite busy and see a lot more folks. I like the statistic of the kids who have been benefiting from the facility. This year we're expecting about 4,500 kids either through programs, educational activities, or performances with Black Hills Community Theater or the symphonies, youth competition, the Rapid City Children's Chorus, again, all of those elementary schools and middle schools from the who are using the facility, who get to use this beautiful renovated facility, some professional staff to help them out to make them sound good. Not that they need that much help, but it's just great to see that we have an educational component already, and we're really just beginning. I think, I think the video I brought would probably be much more entertaining to you than listening to me talk, so I'll let them roll that for about a minute, and if there's any questions for me, I'll stick around. And just want to thank you again for support of the Performing Arts Center through funding and just moral support. Thanks for Darla Drew for serving on our board, along with a couple mayoral appointees, Anna Huntington from Arts Rapid City, and Jason Reuter, Jason Reuter from the Black Hills Playhouse. Anyway, I'll let them roll that video for a bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
We have a motion to acknowledge the report. We have a motion by Estes and a second by Nordstrom. We'll go to Alderwoman Darla Drew.
I just had a couple questions for Nick. So for your projections for 2015, how much rental space will you be using there? I mean, what percentage of the PAC will be rented out, do you think?
Do you mean as far as like days rented per year?
All the groups, using it. Is it 50%, 60% use? What is it at this time?
At this time, that's an interesting question. We're looking at 100 events over a year, so that would average out to be about 2 events a week. That, I guess I should say that would leave a lot of potential for more events.
And your children's programming, could you explain what that means? It's children's theater. What is it?
Well, the main activity at the Performing Arts Center is through what we call the coalition member organizations, those arts organizations which really did the heavy lifting to raise the funds to match the city's investment. The Black Hills Community Theater has a pretty active children's educational element. They do 2 semesters of classes in acting and all kinds of theater-related things, culminating in performances. The Rapid City Children's Chorus meets there weekly and does performances there, and that includes 60 to 70 kids of ages from, I think, probably about 2nd grade up through 9th grade or so. The Black Hills Symphony has their youth competition that's held there, and then, of course, as I mentioned, all the kids who just perform there from other schools as well.
Well, I was there for the Black Hills Symphony Christmas concert, and the place was nearly full, and the concert was exceptional, and the musicianship outstanding, and I think that the council has done a good use of investing in the arts at the Performing Arts Center, and thank you for your work. I know you're new there, so I know you have a lot of...
old. I was here in front of you about 8 months ago, and that seems a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm sure you've learned a lot, but thank you for your work, and keep it happening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for Nick.
Go ahead.
If a person wanted to find, what was happening there, where would they go?
PerformingArtsRC.org is our website.
PerformingArtsRC.org.
Exactly.
Okay. Could you just give me a high view of what groups are performing there?
Well, the sheet I gave you on that thing was a pretty good example. We just had sold-out performances of Black Hills Community Theater for 10 shows in the small theater. The Black Hills Symphony had a show that was sold out a week ago, and they have another concert December 31st. We have a few events that are, Lori Line came over and did a concert last Monday. Her organization from out of town just rents this facility and promotes their own show. There's a vocal band called Home Free. That may be one of the bigger names we've had here. They were a winner of an NBC show called The Sing Off. I probably got that slightly wrong, but they were one of those reality singing shows. So we're starting to attract some promoters who are promoting popular events like that. Plus, I really feel the most important part is our resident organizations like the Symphony, the Community Theater. There's 2 choirs plus the Shrine of Democracy choir that you saw earlier. I believe they were in the lobby anyway.
Thank you. That was it. I appreciate your little video. That was pretty cool.
Okay, thanks.
Any further discussion on item 59? The motion is to acknowledge. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 60, and this is a Civic Center Liaison Report from Alderwoman Charity Doyle. Charity, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd had some people ask me questions about some comments that had been made up here during the Civic Center expansion discussion. And one of those comments led the listeners to believe that all of the state scholastic events, sporting events, et cetera, were going to be, were contracted East River for the next 15 years. So I wanted to look into that because there obviously was a discrepancy, and I didn't think that was the case. So if you look at the attachment, it shows that we have State B wrestling, State A boys basketball, we have all-state chorus and orchestra. 2 years from now, we also have a lot of the same things: state wrestling, State A boys basketball, 2017 State AA boys and girls basketball, all-state band, all-state chorus, these other things. So the 15-year was with Vermillion Dakota Dome, and it was just for football. And it's not the end-all be-all. I mean, there's a 2 or a 3-year opt-out clause on that. So if we have a comparable facility, then there's a strong likelihood that some of those events will come here. So I just wanted to clear the record that we are not or have not lost all of these scholastic events. It's very important to know that the board is trying its best to keep that balance east versus West River, where the population centers are. So just to clarify that, it is attached and are linked for your review, and I just wanted to clear the record on that. Thank you, Mayor.
We have a motion by Scott to acknowledge. Do we have a second? Second by Nordstrom, and Alderman Jerry Wright, you have the floor.
Thank you. To let the community know that, yes, there was some discussion, rumors about the South Dakota Athletic Association of contracting with Sioux Falls and all those kind of rumors, and the mayor and I met with the director and assistant director with Dr. Tim Mitchell from the Rapid City School System and several other people to work out the assurance from them that there would be competitive and equal sharing of events. And I even told them, I went so brash to say that if they dare to threaten us from taking events from us, we'd go join a Wyoming conference if we had to. So I think we got their attention, and I think they're back playing ball.
Thank you, Alderman Wright. We'll go to Alderman Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you. And I don't know if people misunderstood what I said, but I only quoted out of the ACOM study that Vermillion has a 15-year contract with the South Dakota Athletic Association for the football. So I don't, if somebody took that out of context, it's all in there, gotmine.com. You can read it yourself. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Chairman.
All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are now on consent public hearing items 61 through 66. A public hearing is now open for these items. I do not have any speaker request forms. Have I missed anyone? Seeing none, public comment is now closed for items 61 through 66 and also 67 through 69. Okay, do we have a motion to approve 61 through 66? Motion by Scott, second by Laurenti. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. We'll go to item number 67. We'll go to Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 67 is a second reading of Ordinance 6019, an ordinance amending Section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code to create a planned unit development zoning district within described property as requested by Renner and Associates LLC for Cummins Central Power, generally described as located north of Elk Vale Road and Taggart Road. I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Scott, second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? See none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 68, Amanda.
Second reading, ordinance number 6021, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, rezoning the within described property is requested by Chris Eriks for a rezoning from general commercial district to medium density residential district for Lot B of Tract 1 of Outlot B for Merchants First Edition, generally located as 620 East Mead Street. I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Scott and a second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. 69.
Original Town of Rapid City, a request by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers Incorporated for Norman Hansen to consider an application for a vacation of right-of-way for property generally described as being located at 3 Main Street. I make a motion to approve with stipulations.
Motion by Scott, second by Weifenbach. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 70, bill list. We'll go to our Assistant Finance Officer, actually Deputy Finance Officer. The title changed last year. Tracy Davis.
I do have 3 additions to the bill list. First, for mainline contracting for $6,934.57 for change order number 2F on project 14-2161 for West Chicago Street Utility Breakout. Another for mainline contracting for $1,236.09 for change order number 3 on project 12-1849, the Rapid City Sports Complex. And the third one to Hills Materials for $51,029.63 for change order number 1F for project 12-2063, Robbinsdale Reconstruction. The new grand total, $5,199,214.28.
Motion by Estes and a second by Nordstrom. Any discussion? Seeing all in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. We have a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Doyle and a second by Drew. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. We're adjourned. It's 8:08 p.m. Merry Christmas, everyone.